John Buford were the first Union soldiers to arrive in Gettysburg. Buford and his horsemen held their position against a Confederate force 3 times its size. A disjointed, jolting retreat gave Buford the time he needed to emplace his 2 brigades along McPherson's Ridge, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, Buford had done almost everything he could possibly have done. But once the rebel infantry started forward, they would be no match. Heath deployed skirmishers, and a sustained volley of small arms fire erupted. Buford sent a message to Meade. The enemy's force, A.P. Hill's, are advancing very rapidly and driving my forces back. When all seemed lost, one of Buford's lieutenants caught sight of John Reynolds' flag. This was the first of a series of just really heart-stopping moments at Gettysburg. Reynolds and his staff came galloping up to the cupola. Buford said, "Now we can hold in place." 10 o'clock in the morning, John Reynolds reappeared. He had ridden into Gettysburg and gotten some additional directions from Union cavalrymen around the Eagle Hotel. And then he went to the seminary right behind me, where he saw John Buford standing in the cupola. Reynolds shouted up to Buford, "What's the matter, John?" "The devil's to pay," Buford shouted back. "Reynolds, I've run upon some regiments of infantry. They are in the woods somewhere on the other side of McPherson's Ridge. I am unable to dislodge them." Reynolds began giving orders right away. He raced to get his men into position and sent a messenger to Meade, who was in Taneytown. He tells him, "Ride at once at your utmost speed, even if it kills your horse, to General Meade. Tell him the enemy are advancing in strong force and that I fear they will get to the heights beyond the town before I can. I will fight them inch by inch, and if driven into town, I will barricade the streets and I will hold them back as long as possible. While I am aware that it is not your desire to force an engagement at this point, still I feel at liberty to advance and develop the strength of the enemy." So here's the thing to realize here, and why John Reynolds plays such an important role at the Battle of Gettysburg. In the military, we have a term called the point of no return, where there is no turning back and where a mission cannot be aborted. That applies here because once Reynolds had committed 3 of Meade's 7 infantry corps to Gettysburg, Meade couldn't refuse to support him with the other 4. Reynolds knew the situation was far from perfect. He needed to act quickly, though, before the Confederates on Hare Ridge could deploy in advance on their positions. To do that, he would need to bring up pieces of the 1st Corps right away. It was said that Reynolds looked careworn and sad. The high purpose of his patriotic soul was stamped with every lineament. Reynolds told his vanguard division, commanded by General James Wadsworth, to cut across the fields, skirt the southwest edge of town, and come up over Seminary Ridge quickly. It would turn out that Wadsworth's division bore much of the brunt of the overwhelming Confederate attack that morning and afternoon. The Confederates were 2 miles away. General Wadsworth's Lee Brigade was composed of 4 New York regiments and 1 from Pennsylvania. His most colorful brigade was the 14th Brooklyn, whose uniforms were red caps and trousers. They were called the Red-Legged Devils, and they were commanded by Brigadier General Lysander Cutler, who was 56 years old. Cutler's brigade would move up Emmitsburg Road. He was followed by the Iron Brigade, commanded by Brigadier General Solomon Meredith, the Westerners, who were positioned to the west of the seminary. Wadsworth pointed Cutler's brigade beyond the seminary, where they could now see the battle in progress. 600 yards away along McPherson's Ridge, Buford's dismounted cavalry were reclaiming their horses. Buford's men yelled to their replacements, "They're coming! Give it to them!" John Reynolds wanted Wadsworth's division to secure the ridgeline as far north as possible. Meredith's Iron Brigade would clear Herbst Woods lot, but they didn't have much time. Confederate skirmishers were moving down fast. An order came to move from a column to a line of battle, sending back all the musicians and the skirmishers and the non-combatants. Once they formed their line, they were told that they would find the enemy immediately. Reynolds was positioning his divisions to delay the Confederate infantry for as long as possible. His intent was to allow Meade to arrive with the rest of the Army of the Potomac and secure Cemetery Hill. But Reynolds knew he would need these woods. Reynolds rode across between the Seminary and Herbst woods, trailed by 2 aides and his orderly, urging the 2nd Wisconsin forward. "Forward, men, forward, for God's sake, and drive those fellows out of the woods." Those were the last words of John Reynolds. As the 2nd Wisconsin plunged into these woods, Confederate skirmishers let off a volley, and when Reynolds turned to come out of the woods, a bullet hit Reynolds in the head. He was dead instantly before he hit the ground. He slumped forward, falling face down from his saddle, catching one boot in his stirrup. The horse drug him several feet, and his orderly was the first to reach him. He turned him over, and he saw no blood, so he tried to revive him, but Reynolds was dead. John Reynolds was the highest-ranking Union general to die during the Battle of Gettysburg. Abner Doubleday replaced him in command. The battle had just begun. The Union Army had lost its greatest general, and Kate Hewitt had lost her great love. His family learned about her after his death when they find the ring around his neck. Following his death, after spending years in a convent, she returned to her hometown where she died. She never married.